Welcome to Greatness. My name is Realtor Mehrooz. In the last decade, our company helped so many people just like you get the key to their dream home. Welcome to Modern Choice Financial Podcast, where we talk strictly about real estate, finance, and everything around it. Today's episode is kind of a unique one. I personally was waiting for it for a long time. I think it's something that a lot of people need to know, especially as in a country that a lot of immigrants are here from other countries, and there are different rules and different things that they probably used to how things are done back home, but here's a little bit different. I think this topic would be filled with a lot of great information. Hopefully you guys are thankful. Thank you for our guests to show up here on time so we can go live on time. Mickey actually accepted our invite last minute, and he had to cancel a dinner with a friend to be here. So much love for that.
I'm just showing up late. I'm not missing dinner.
Definitely, that's awesome. So other than that, today's episode about probate. What is probate and how to avoid probate? This is the most important thing. Without further ado, let's go in and actually introduce our guest. And today we have Chris as our co-host. Chris been doing actually a live TV show. They did so many episodes in the past. He's a great friend of mine, and he decided to join us. And hopefully, this is adventure. Hopefully, he's going to be our co-host moving forward. Other than that, let's move on to our guests. Mickey, floor is yours. Please introduce yourself and let's talk about your firm and what is exactly your firm do for our community, and how we can actually utilize your knowledge and experience.
All right, my name is Mickey Bone. I'm also called Michael Bone. I go by both names. I'm an attorney. I've been practicing here in Clark County now for a little over 39 years. Had my own firm for 25 years. My office is in Henderson. I've been at the Henderson location for about 7 years. My practice, it's a general civil practice with an emphasis on real estate, estate planning, and probates.
Real estate, estate planning, and probates. Okay, so each one of those topics are actually filled with a lot of information that need to be covered. We're probably going to end up doing this for like a multiple different segment, but today is the introduction to mainly probate and estate planning and why it's so important. Chris, please go on, introduce yourself again. Even though you were our last guest, people probably already know your face, and they're probably thinking, is this the same Chris? So
yeah, Chris Mitchell with Realtor Home Inspections. My good friend here invited me back. I must have did something right on the last show, so hopefully I can continue to be here again on more episodes, and get to learn more about different aspects of real estate, since I only get to kind of see one side of it. So
definitely, Chris. So our guest today, as I said, he's been in this industry for how long?
I'm the guest.
You are the guest.
39 years. Okay.
39 years. That's like how old I am. Almost. So we're going to start bombarding you with all these great questions that I'm sure that's probably the biggest question of most of our audience, including even myself, before I actually take your classes. Mickey actually does some CE class, continuing education classes for realtors and loan officers and all that. So how we can actually educate our client to utilize these services before it's too late. So let's jump into the $1 million question. What is probate and why should people avoid it?
Well, probate is the court-supervised administration of the assets of a dead person. And once someone dies, any property that they own either has to be transferred according to law or by court order. there are things you can do to avoid probate, but if you don't do those things, and a lot of people do not do those things, then you leave the burden onto your family and friends to have to hire an attorney and incur the costs and the fees involved in the probate and have the matters taken care of to get the assets transferred to whoever they belong to.
That is awesome. So I don't want to explain anything myself, so I step over my boundaries because obviously that's your field. But to simplify, because sometimes us as in like a professional in whatever fields, we're using certain terminologies that we're thinking everybody's are familiarized with those, and it's like a common thing for us. We know it, and we're expecting that everybody else should know it. So here's the deal: probate, right? Whoever pass away and they have asset in whatever estate, if they don't have what's called living trust, right?
Correct.
What's gonna happen is, regardless of if they have will or not, estate would take over their asset for the purpose of, right? For the purpose of seeing if this deceased person have any financial liabilities, like they owe money to people or stuff like that, right?
Well, when you say I tell people all the time, there is not a probate police that comes in and checks on what a family is doing after someone dies. There is a fair number of people who die alone with no immediate family around them, and in that case, the county public administrator will come in and just, they'll often has happened when the police do a wellness check and they find a deceased person living in his house, and then someone's got to, they'll make an effort to find family members. If they can't find family members, then the county does step in and take care of that. But in most cases, a spouse or a child or a brother or a parent even will step in and then be able to be in position to petition the court to at least take charge and get things moving and get taken care of.
All right, so now that we know exactly how probate's kind of like the fundamental of how probate works and what is it actually, let's talk about why should we avoid it. Let's start with a couple of horrifying example that you've been involved as an attorney, like how long it took and how much money it take out of the deceased family to take care of the probate, and what is the typical procedure of probate court and what happened during the probate time.
Well, right now, probates are supposed to be heard upon 10 days notice by statute. However, COVID is not too far in the rearview mirror. The courthouse was closed for 4 months in the year 2020. It was closed for 3 months in the year 2021. In addition to that, the probate commissioner that we had here in Clark County became ill and had to resign. They had to appoint a retired judge to hold the position while they were looking to find a new probate commissioner. And that retired judge, I'm told, was only paid to work part-time, so she wasn't that interested in working hard to clear up the backlog. So if you came to me today, this week, to file something, it wouldn't be heard by the court until about February 26th of next year. So it's taking a long time, and that's just for the initial hearing. After the initial hearing, you have to notice the creditors. If you have property to sell, you have to get the property listed. You got to get a sale approved by the court. And then, of course, you have to do the final petition with the court to pay any creditors that are out there and distribute any assets to the heirs. And, of course, most importantly, get the attorney paid. So.
Yeah, it only makes sense because obviously that shutdown happened during COVID. And what happened during COVID? A lot of mainly people in the higher age passed away. And we had so many people passed away, and at the same time, the whole probate court was shut down. So that everything piled up, and they're pretty much trying to just catch up. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's correct. I mean, every day a certain percentage of the population is going to die. And contrary, the other side of that is a certain number of people are born every day, but we're expecting X number of people to die every day within our society. COVID increased that numbers, not terribly much, but enough to put a burden upon the probate court. So things have gotten backed up. The new probate commissioner, Mr. Fontana, is actually a very wise man who's practiced law for many years, and he's very fair, and he's working very hard, I know because I deal with his staff, to get caught up and try to shrink the backlog that the court does now have.
Wow, that is totally crazy. So now that we kind of know what's waiting for many of us that probably didn't even know what's probate and what's going to happen, because a lot of people don't even want to think about, obviously, that bad, crazy word, death, right? But whether we want to think about it or not, it's part of life. It's going to happen, right? So we better be kind of, sort of, I would say, prepared for it, and for the lack of a better word, like, as you mentioned earlier, don't put that burden into our family or people around us after we pass away, because now they got to go through craziness to just clear everything out. Correct?
Correct. A lot of people have a fear of death, so much so they don't want to face up to the reality that we are all going to die at some point, and things have to be taken care of. And I've had some people just say, why should I hire an attorney and let my family worry about it? They get to pay all the bills. They get to go through all that. And that's really a lousy position to have, frankly. If you have assets, if you have a family that you care about, if you love them and want to see them taken care of, you want to make sure things are supposed to go where they're supposed to go. And you want to make it as easy on them as possible.
For sure.
And you had mentioned a trust, and a trust is the absolute best way to avoid probate, but there are other tricks that you can do to avoid probate. For most people, their biggest and only asset is going to be their house.
Their house, yes.
And with that, if you do a deed properly, you can pass the property through just recording the correct deed, and you don't have to worry about a probate, but that only works once. When I say once, if you have a husband and wife, and the husband and wife put their deed in joint tenancy, or the preferred matter is actually community property with rights of survivorship. When the first spouse dies, then the other spouse does not have to go through probate, because you just record a copy of the death certificate, the affidavit terminating joint tenancy, or the rights of survivorship, and then title transfers to that surviving spouse. That surviving spouse then has to take steps to make sure that their family, after that person dies, doesn't have to go through probate. And the best way to do that, again, is with a trust.
Exactly. So, matter of fact, for our audience, I try to be as trendy as I could. So our next week episode is all about how to get title in real estate and how many different ways there is, and you should know. So when the time comes and you're buying your property, that's exactly what Mickey's talking about. And so going back to what you were referring, Mickey, if I'm not mistaken, as you mentioned, this is just one-time thing. So imagine if the house is purchased through husband and wife or two partners. They just want to get joint tenants, right? So now both of them are in an airplane and airplane crashes, right? So now what? So that's why I think at the end of the day, however we're going to look at it, the ultimate best solution is trust, because I just did ours for myself and my parents about 2 years ago. Unfortunately, at that time, I didn't really know you. I knew your name and your brand and all that, but I didn't know you personally. I was referred to someone. Anyway, long story short, it is pretty much set up in a way that it has its own rules. Like if something happened to this person, the properties and everything else in the trust goes to that person. If this happened to both of them, then it goes to the third person. It has all the rules already there, and also even further to the point where I guess if it's called trustee who's making decision on some like a critical decision, like a medical decision, or right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, the trustee takes care of the assets of the trust. If you come to me or any good attorney in town to get your estate plan done, the estate plan is going to have a trust, it's going to have a pour-over will, it's going to have a durable springing power of attorney. And the durable springing power of attorney doesn't kick in until one or two doctors determine you can't make your own decisions because you're in a coma or you're senile or you're just out of it, and you can't make a decision. And then the next one is what they call the healthcare power of attorney. And it's the healthcare power of attorney that gives the person the authority to make healthcare decisions for someone else. Generally an older person, but we hear sad stories all the time of people in their 40s or 50s getting cancer and getting sick and dying. We hear plenty of stories of 70 and 80-year-olds dying. That we don't expect. I mean, that we do expect, but it's the younger people. And if you get it done soon, then you have it all taken care of. And the other issue that has is once you set that trust up, you have to review it every couple of years to make sure it's up to date. If you sell one house and buy a new house, you have to make sure the new house gets put into the trust. If you refinance your house, a lot of mortgage companies will not lend to a trust. They will require you to deed the house out of the trust into your individual name, and then you are responsible after that fact to put it back into the trust.
Definitely actually happened to myself. But let's look at the bigger spectrum of trust, and I would say beside the fact that it would avoid probate, it gives people a lot of other ammunition, right? Like let's say the bad attorney tried to sue you, and because you just hit someone, a little fender bender, and now they want to make a big deal out of it. Oh, my head hurt, my back hurt, my neck hurt. Now what?
Well, one of the misconceptions about trusts, and I hear this quite frequently, is trusts do not protect you from lawsuits and creditors. And car insurance, prevents you from doing that. So if you have a habit of, if you have a bad driving record, if you've had a few car crashes, if you like to drink and drive, make sure you have lots of insurance. But a trust does not protect you from people suing you. The thing about the trust, and I explained, is you set up the trust and you put all your assets into the trust. And if it's a husband and wife, they both put all the assets into the trust. But the husband and wife are the trustees of the trust. So even though you technically don't own anything, you still control it. And because you still control the trust, your assets are subject to the rights of creditors. But it's very, very rare that people get sued and creditors will go, or attorneys will go after their assets. For one thing, Nevada has one of the better homestead exemptions. Your house is good up to $615,000. They cannot make you sell your house to collect a judgment. So you have that going for you. And frankly, most attorneys will just chase what insurance is there and not go after anything else. If you're an incredibly wealthy person, then you have something else to worry about. And the people who do have high assets, there are asset protection trusts that are out there. But for your standard person who's just a mom and pop homeowner, your regular family trust is the way to go. Years ago, when I first graduated law school, it was used as a way to avoid estate taxes or inheritance taxes or death taxes. But it's gotten to a point right now where if your family has less than $20 million, you don't have to worry about estate taxes.
Oh, wow.
And not many of us have that problem where we have to worry about estate taxes. So the purpose for the trust is to make sure your assets go where you want them to go and to avoid probate. So one of the other benefits with the trust as opposed to a will, is, if you have children that are minors when you die, your children are set to inherit your assets when they turn 18. And I don't know if you've ever seen an 18-year-old with a wad of money. When they're 18, they know about pretty girls and fast cars and whiskey and drugs, and they know it costs money, and they think, gee, this is easy, this is fun, and the money doesn't last. Yep. So if you have a trust, you can do things like say, look, these kids get half the money when they turn 25. By that time, hopefully they'll be responsible. They get the other half when they turn 30. Or if the kid has a real problem, and I've seen this happen a lot, they're just irresponsible. They can't work. They can't hold a job. They like to do drugs too much. You can just say they get nothing. I'm going to let my children who are going to take care of themselves and be responsible get the money. I'm not going to give the money to the one child who's going to be irresponsible and blow it. Or I've had people just say, he gets a check for $1,000 a month. At least this way he's got some money for an apartment, some money for food, something like that. I do have a very good friend who's very bright. He's brilliant. So is his brother. They both have good jobs, make good money. They have a third brother who is special needs. Mm-hmm. And he is never going to be able to get more than a minimum wage job the rest of his life. Well, the parents set up the estate plan so that the two brothers who can take care of themselves get nothing. Mm-hmm. And everything goes to take care of the special needs son. And you can do that as well.
Definitely.
Again, if you have a kid who is got a drug problem, you can require them to take monthly drug tests to make sure they're clean of the drugs before they would get their check. So you can do a lot with a trust, and if you have a child that's just a pain that you don't want to get anything, you can do that in a will, you can do that in a trust, but you can just make sure the one child doesn't get anything. Or if you don't have children, my wife and I, we have no children, and we're making a list of charities we might want to donate to in our trust. I intend to be here for a few more decades, but you just never know. We don't have any direct children, so you can give it to your favorite charity, which a lot of people actually do.
I'm ready.
Home inspections, that's a great charity to donate to.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a 501c IRS, but
I'm here
But I do
ready
have a
to be
question.
adopted.
sure.
On the trust, is there a way to add another level of layer of protection, like an LLC owns the properties and then the trust owns the LLC? Is there a way to protect, have a
Get more creative,
kind
basically.
of a solid wall in between you and the business, really?
You can do that also, and I explain to people, you have a business, you have assets, whatever, you put that in the LLC, and then the trust is actually the member or the owner of that LLC or the shareholder of that corporation. So you can add that extra layer also.
Okay.
Matter of fact, let's talk about exactly what are the items that actually can go into trust. I know it's properties, bank accounts. Let's just go down the list of what items can actually be part of the trust.
Well, the statute on trust says that a trust can be used for any legal purpose. So you can do anything you want with a trust, and you can be as creative as you like with a trust. So the idea is you put everything you own in a trust. When I say everything you own, I talk about what I call titled assets. A house you have a title for, a car you have a title for, even bank accounts. If there's a piece of paper that is needed to identify you as the owner of that property, that should go into the trust. Things like household furniture doesn't, you just put all household furniture located at our house at 123 Main Street also goes into the trust. But most people really aren't interested in getting their hands on used furniture unless it's antique and valued that way. The other asset is jewelry. If you have that, you might want to be specific about that. But what also does happen, you said about horror stories earlier, I hear all the time, grandma goes into the hospice and the grandkids go to the house and start looting the house while she's even still alive. So if you have, assets like small assets like that, they can go into the trust, and it's separate from the trust planning, but you might want to make sure those are held in a safe or a safe deposit box or something to make sure the grandkids don't get their hands on it too soon.
And I'm sure there's just one trust really for that, but there's a million trusts out there that I know of that, pertain to business and stuff. So picking the right one, obviously, consulting with an attorney. I'm sure with real estate, it's probably, you kind of have.
Well, there are real
Different
estate
options.
investment trusts, and those are
Yeah.
usually used for large commercial projects with multiple investors. But today, I was intending to kind of just talk about your regular family trust for your mom and dad who's got
As I
kids
said,
and or grandkids.
Yeah, as I said, this is a topic that once we open the can, we gotta go multiple different directions, and hopefully Mickey can make some more time for us,
There's too many
because
questions.
next time we're gonna literally go deeper just into different type of trust and how you can use it. There's land trust, there's family trust, there's living trust, there's whatever, all kinds of different trusts and their
Revocable
purpose.
trusts, there's all sorts of stuff.
Yes. So going back to the example that I was picturing, let's actually create a quick scenario. We want to be very quick, be respectful of your time, because I know that you have put your dinner. So really quick, let's say our office is basically set up for multi-purposes, like under Modern Choice we do like mortgage, real estate, all kinds of insurance. Eventually we're going to bring tax and accounting, whatever, right? So I've dealt with like different corner of things that are touches trust. For instance, on insurance, let's say auto insurance, my client have an accident and it's not my client's fault, right? And somebody else hit him. The attorney trying to go around and see the person at fault that hit my client, what kind of asset they have, so they can hopefully get some, compensation towards all the hospital bills and everything else. If they start looking the name of the person at fault, for the purpose of checking what kind of asset this person has, and if the property that they own, however many, they're in a trust called ABC Trust, for example, I don't think they can find the property under his personal name, correct? So is there a way for them to actually get creative and know like what kind of property or how many properties they own, and like get that deep? Because when I look like Clark County Recorder's Office, properties that are actually in trust, it just says the trust name. There's no way for us to know who is the owner of the trust, because even though trust is kind of a legal document, it really never get, nobody knows who's the owner of a trust, correct?
Well, that's one of the benefits of the trust, is the actual contents of the trust themselves are private. However, the recorder's office will oftentimes say, the Michael and Chrissy Bone Family Trust, Michael and Chrissy Bone Trustee. Or you can just look at the deed and you'll see that Bob and Mary Smith signed the deed of the house at 123 Main Street into the particular trust. And I've asked people at title companies, when I ask them to look up documents for me, they're able to locate the owner of the trust through a search of the county records, because very frequently the name of the trustee is also listed. So I will tell people, you're concerned about that, instead of calling it the Bob and Mary Smith Family Trust, make up a name.
Exactly.
The street that you live on, or your favorite
Yeah.
pet. Call it the Newport Road Trust or the Sporty Dog Trust, or just come up with a name other than your family name, which will give you some modicum of being able to hide. But again, I want to emphasize that people are always worried about attorneys. If you're not a multi-millionaire and you don't have assets everywhere, if you're just a regular person who works a regular 9-to-5 job and have a middle-class house, attorneys are going to go after the insurance and nothing else, because it's just too easy for people who don't have much just to turn around and file bankruptcy and everything goes away. And again, if anyone out there listening does have money and does have assets and you're concerned about it, you can always get an umbrella insurance policy, which will add a couple of million to your insurance backing to make sure they don't touch you. And they do have asset protection trusts, which are complicated, they're expensive, and they don't kick in for 2 years. So if you were to set up one of these asset protection trusts December 1st, 2023, the asset protection doesn't kick in until December 1st, 2025. So you can set those up, but you can't set up the trust and say, okay, now I'm going to go out and start committing fraud on people and start scamming people. It doesn't work like that. So if you set something up and 2 years later, you get drunk and you're driving home on the way from a Christmas party, at that point, that asset protection trust will kick in and protect you. In the meantime, it's just better off making sure, A, you drive carefully, and B, you have good insurance.
Definitely.
When I first, when I became an attorney, growing in college, I always got the minimum insurance that I had to get. When I became an attorney, my insurance agent said, if you were in a car accident, people found out you're an attorney, dollar signs are going to light up in their eyes.
Yep.
So don't get the minimum insurance. You got to get a bigger policy. So I carry a larger policy, and I also carry an umbrella policy. And what people don't realize when they're trying to save money on their insurance, I am not so much worried about me getting in an accident and hurting somebody else and then coming after them suing me. You've driven around the streets. I told you the traffic tonight with the rain is horrendous.
Yep.
I'm more worried about some other goon hitting me and maiming me or crippling me. And
Yeah.
so I carry gigantic amounts of uninsured and underinsured motorists, as well as an umbrella policy, because I'm more worried about me being taken care of than I'm worried about me taking care of someone else while I'm in an accident.
Makes sense, 100%,
So-
yes.
And
Definitely.
then I got married and I saw my wife drive, so that just messed up everything. But that's a different story.
So, with that being said, Chris, I'm sure you have some more questions.
Well, there's a lot of questions because I'm very ignorant to this process, being on the spectrum that I'm in. So
Yes.
And I'm sure I'll
and,
be
and
next.
as my opening line was, like, here's what I saw in the last 8 years that I've been, dealing with real estate, mortgage, and all this other stuff. I thought only the people just like myself, like first generation coming from other country, and things are handled differently, obviously, in other country. And here, I have to learn how things work. But a lot of people are born and raised in here, they don't even know about it too. I'm like, okay, that makes me look even better or feel better,
You're not alone.
So I think it is a process that a lot of people really need to know and be aware of, because eventually it's just a matter of time. It's gonna happen to any of us, and that probate process is a nightmare.
It's not a nightmare. Well, if you get an attorney that knows what he's doing, such as myself, if you get an attorney that knows what he's doing, it's not so difficult. And one of the reasons why I do probates is, I've lost my mother, I've lost my father. I was close to them, I was close to my grandparents. But fortunately, because I was an attorney, I knew exactly what had to be done to get their estates closed out and get title transferred and cleaned up. And it's amazing to me that people just have no idea what they're supposed to do. And I actually take pride in taking care of my clients and explaining to them in detail what needs to be done in order to get things handled as quickly and efficiently as possible. But it is very common, a lot of people don't know. And everyone just thinks, all I need is a will, and a will is a good thing. Everyone should have a will. Surprisingly, probably only 20% of all probates involve wills. If you don't have a will, then the state will tell you where your property goes, and normally, it goes to your spouse, and if you're the surviving spouse, then it will go to your children. But if you, the will do that for you, but a trust will just avoid the necessity for the probate altogether. Now you will see attorneys advertising $100 wills, or they'll advertise even free wills. And you go in to see them, and what they'll do, they'll put in the will, I want this nice attorney who just did this will for me really cheap to handle my probate when I'm deceased. Some attorneys will even, as a condition for doing the will say, I'm going to hang on to this will, so your family has to come to me when you're dead. And the cost between a probate and a trust is astronomical. You can get a will done all day long for $100. But a trust done through an attorney, I charge $2,500, for the trust. And I see people all the time who try to do things without attorneys, and they screw them up.
Yep.
I had an agent contact me today with a very crazy situation and said, oh, by the way, here's the will. And I looked at the will, and it was a form will. I just passed the Nevada legal forms on the way over here. They got the will from there. And a will requires the person to sign it, also requires 2 witnesses, and it requires the witnesses to have their affidavit on the will notarized, and this person only had 1 witness.
Wow.
So there's a way to get around that, but if the person had gone to an attorney, could have gotten it done correctly, could have avoided a lot of time and problems with it.
That makes sense.
And that's actually not a bad price, because my business attorney would charge me $7,500 to just set up some type of trust for my business. So,
Call me, I'll do it for us. So.
Well, I'll be getting your number.
With that being said, as I mentioned earlier, Mickey, you have to be somewhere, and I know if we're gonna dig in, we're gonna probably have minimum 2-3 hours conversation about this to really understand inside out, and hopefully in the close future you're gonna give us another, at least 1 more chance to be with you and learn a little bit more. And
well, if you ask me nice and say please, I'll think about it, but probably.
He's probably gonna take him to dinner.
That's awesome. So with that being said, that will conclude today's show. And please follow our social medias. Ask your question wherever you're watching. We're live in almost all the major platforms. TikTok, my Facebook business page, and my personal Facebook, my personal TikTok, and my business Instagram. We're everywhere, and also on YouTube. But they're all under Realtor Mehrooz. So I started back in the day as a real estate agent, and I kind of like branded myself with Realtor Mehrooz. So all the pages are under Realtor Mehrooz. So you go to YouTube, you look up Realtor Mehrooz, there's a playlist only for Modern Choice Financial Podcast, and all the previous shows are there, and the edited version of today's episode going to be uploaded this coming Friday, and you have access to that forever. Wherever you're watching, make sure you're dropping your questions that we most likely probably didn't cover, because there's a lot into it, and I understand that. I try to do my best to do that, at least the introduction to the whole thing. So now, moving forward, hopefully for the next episode, where we have a chance to have Mickey again in our show, we can ask the questions that you guys actually gave us, and we can ask those questions again. Other than that, thank you very, very much for your time. I really appreciate that. Seriously. Chris, my man, thank you very, very much. Thank you guys for following, and until the next show, make sure every Wednesday, if everything works out perfectly, every Wednesday at 6 o'clock we're live, and then throughout the week, if you're following our social medias, we're letting you know what is the next episode. For the sake of the today's ending, next episode is about actually title and how to get title and how to go with the escrow companies and what they can do for you. They can do a lot, believe it or not. See you on the next episode. Thank you very much, and until then.